Hello there, we're live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. This is your home of fearless, credible and independent journalism. Our lead stories this hour. Jubilation among NPP supporters and at the presidency as the Supreme Court affirms President Akufo-Addo as winner of the 2020 elections, shooting down the NDC's John Mahama's petition for a rerun. The Supreme Court describes it as lacking merit. We have highlights from the court and reactions from the parties as the NDC's John Mahama prepares to make an address at 5 p.m. Also, President Akufo-Addo officially retires Auditor General Daniel Domolevo after several months of back and forth and Mr. Domolevo's 167-day forced leave. We hear from anti-corruption campaigners who say they are willing to support Mr. Domolevo to pursue the matter in court if he so wishes. We're also live in Parliament today as the Appointment Committee presents its second report for debate. We monitor whether or not there will be an approval for the 8 other ministerial nominees. We're live in Parliament with a wrap also of what happened last night and what to expect today. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. Join us on DSTV 421, Gold TV 144. We're streaming live on YouTube and on our other social media handles. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. The Supreme Court of Ghana this afternoon has, in a unanimous decision, shut down a request by the NDC flag bearer in the election 2020, John Mahama, for a rerun of the election between himself and President Akufo-Addo. The Apex Court today dismissed that election petition brought by the NDC's candidate, saying it lacked merit. In a judgment which lasted about 2 hours, President of the 7-member panel, Kwesi Eni-Yeboah, read out the decision. We bring you highlights indicating the reasons upon which the court made its conclusion. Listen.
They recounted the fanciful tale of how the chairperson refused to heed their complaints on some irregularities they noticed in some of the coalition forms that came from some of the regions. We describe this evidence as fanciful because that's why these alleged protests, they went ahead to verify and certify 13 out of the 16 election regional coalition seats. Their testimony included an account of how the chairperson of the first respondent managed to trick them to leave the strong room by sending them on an errand to confer with the petitioner, during which period he declared the result of the presidential election without their participation. While the testimony of PW1 was emphatic that the petitioner is not in court to challenge or compare the figures or data presented by the first respondent with any other figures, the testimonies of PW2 and PW3 were in respect of alleged irregularities in the figures or data on some of the regional coalition forms that they cited in the strong room, but which they ultimately signed or certified. Notwithstanding all these allegations of misunderstandings with staff of the first respondent in the strong room and the fact that they were absent during the declaration, they did not give any indication as to how these happenings and the absence affected the final results announced by the first respondent. Having signed or certified these forms, the witnesses, particularly PW3, cannot turn around to talk of irregularities in the said forms. Their testimonies would have carried some little weight if the purpose of the petition was to challenge entries made on the coalition forms or summary sheets, but that is not the case. Their testimonies were therefore of no relevance whatsoever to the issues set down for determination, and we found them unworthy for any consideration whatsoever in the settlement of the issues. In fact, regarding the testimonies of PW2 and PW3, if their evidence is to be believed, then they have to blame themselves for abandoning their post at the National Coalition Center at the time the verification and certification of the results were ongoing, and PW3 had then verified and certified 13 regional coalition results out of the 16. With respect to the duties of party agents or representatives, we refer to the Kenyan case of Amolo Odinga and another versus Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and 4 others, number 2 of 20th September 2017, where Indokis Ndungu SCG opined that once the Constitution gives citizens the right to vote, the freedom to choose, and conditions are created for the realization of that right, it is not the business of the court to aid the indolent. If party agents are required to be present, sign statutory form, and undertake any other legitimate duty that is imposed upon them as part of the political process in an election, then they are under obligation to do it. To fail to do so is not only to fail one's party, but also to fail our democracy. The courts must frown upon any such inaction, reluctance, and delay. A candidate or her agent cannot abscond duty from a polling station and then ask the court to overturn the election because of a failure to sign a statutory form. Every party in an election needs to pull their own weight to ensure that the ideals in Article 86 are achieved. That we shall once and for all have simple, accurate, and verifiable, secure, accountable, transparent elections. Again, in the Nigeria case of Atiku Abubakar, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and Buhari, Supra, Mohammed Lawal Garba, JC, stated that it is pertinent to restate that from the evidence of all the witnesses called by the appellant, they admitted that their polling agents signed all the result sheets, and this so voluntarily on the instruction of their party, the first respondent. The implication is therefore obvious, as it would have authenticated the validity of the documents. In other words, the result sheets. The agents in law were all presumed to understand what they appended their signatures thereto. They could not in the circumstances have turned around to deny the contents of their signatures. End of quote. Evidence of PWI. Regard to the first witness, PWI, the government of his evidence as per his witness statement after the court had expunged some portions of same upon objection raised by the respondent is captured in the answers he gave during cross-examination by counsel for the first and second respondents. According to him, the petitioner did not come to court to challenge the validity of the figures or data presented by the chairperson of the first respondent. That is why in his testimony, he did not provide any data to contradict that of the first respondent. His assertion was that the figures initially collated by the chairperson contained errors, which his party, the National NDC, the National Democratic Congress, pointed out in a letter addressed to the chairperson on the 9th of December 2020 before the declaration. However, in effecting corrections to the wrong figures or data, the first respondent did not invite them for their participation, but unilaterally effected the said corrections contrary to Articles 23 and 296A and B of the 1992 Constitution. The question is, what is the legal implication, if any, of first respondent failure to involve the petitioner and his agents in correcting administrative or clerical errors made in the computation or the declaration? Neither the petitioner nor his witnesses mentioned any to us, and we do not find any.
That's Justice Ania Boa there. Well, what is the conclusion? I'm sure you must have heard the ground conclusion, but take a listen to him read it in court today.
The exercise of discretion under Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution by administrative bodies, which includes the first respondent, are not matters for the Supreme Court. These are infractions that the petitioner could have sought redress in the High Court. To quote Mafusam JSC in the Afoko case, Supra, Article 23 of the Constitution deals with administrative actions, and even where a breach of that provision is alleged, the remedy lies in the High Court and not this court. Article 23 is part of Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution on Fundamental Human Rights and Freedoms, which by Article 33, 1 and 2 of the Constitution ought to be enforced in the High Court. End of quote. See also Eduse versus Attorney General, 1996-97, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, page 1, and Eduse versus Attorney General number 2, 1997-98, Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report 753. On the exercise of discretion under Article 296 and alleged breaches or violations of same, this court in the Mayor Agbese case, Supra, held per court yes as follows. Throughout the Constitution, discretion has been vested in persons or bodies charged with his responsibility to exercise one power or the other Where the discretionary power is not exercised according to law, the recourse by an aggrieved party lies in some other remedy provided for in the Constitution and not an invitation to invoke the original jurisdiction of this court. End of quote. Though the two authorities cited above involve the invocation of the original jurisdiction of this court under Articles 2(1)b and 131 of the 1982 Constitution, the same applies to an election petition. The first respondent is an independent body that performs its functions without anybody's directions or assistance. Article 46 is specific about this. It reads, except as provided in this Constitution or any other law not inconsistent with this Constitution, in the performance of its functions, the Electoral Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority. End of quote. We are settled in our minds that delegation of vote pardon to the voters' intent, if possible. The right to vote is at the core of our democratic dispensation, a principle I've affirmed in this opinion with reference to the Tenadi and Anna Okansi line of cases. End of quote. Conclusion. We conclude this judgment by emphasizing that the petitioner did not demonstrate in any way how the alleged errors and unilateral corrections made by the first respondent affected the validity of the declaration made by the chairperson of the first respondent on the 9th December 2020, as already stated in this judgment. The petitioner has not produced any evidence to rebut the presumption created by the publication of CI 135, for which his action must fail. We have therefore no reason to order a rerun as prayed by the petitioner as in relief F. We accordingly dismiss the petition as having no merit.
As the court pleases.
That's Justice Eni Abua reading the conclusion of their judgment there. Well, we'll bring you the reactions from the legal representatives of both sides. But let me take you right now to the presidency. How is President Akufo-Addo and his vice reacting, or how are they reacting to this news? Elton Brobo is our presidential correspondent. He's joining me via Zoom. Hello, Elton.
Yes, good afternoon, Gifty.
Right, Elton, walk us through the reactions from the presidency.
So President Akufo-Addo came to office around 10:30 this morning. He came in at a time that the Chief Justice was reading the judgment of the court. So he went to his office. He was wearing a black shirt with a white shirt with a black jacket over. When he sat down, he was joined in his private office on the 4th floor here at the Jubilee House by the Vice President and some officials at the President's Secretariat, where they monitored the judgments on television. I must say that at that particular moment, the office was very quiet. Everybody was in a pensive mood, monitoring events. But when the judgment came, for want of a better word, in favor of the President, because the petition was dismissed, that's pensiveness that we had witnessed when the judgment was being read gave way to laughter and then calmness in the room. The Vice President was the first to congratulate President Akufo-Addo, and he was followed by the Secretary to the President, Ashanti Region, and some officials here at the Jubilee House. And then later, the protection unit, some other officers also came in to congratulate the President and then wish him well as he officially, if you like, begin a second term in office. Right after that, President got into business of the day, immediately went down to meet with the Nigerian ambassador to Ghana, who is ending his official duty tour here in Ghana. He did not speak about the outcome of the presidential election. My information, or what we've been told officially, is that at exactly 5 p.m., which is like an hour and 10 minutes away, the president lawyers, those that represented him in court, Akuto Ampao, Van Davies, Yao Pong, and the others will be here at the Jubilee House to officially tell him about the outcome of the election petition because they represented him in court. And as is custom with their practice, they will have to brief their clients on the outcome of the elections, and then they would expect a thank you from the president. And then I'm told that there's likely to be a broadcast to the nation by President Akufo-Addo accepting the outcome of the election petition and then promising to work with both sides and unite the country, heal wounds, and ensure that the country forge on, build on, and ensure the prosperity that he's promised the whole country in the broadcast that we are expecting later this evening. But here at the Jubilee House, it's been very quiet. In fact, when I got here, I was expecting to see people in white in readiness for some kind of a jubilation, but I didn't see that. Indeed, people were out there in their numbers. Those who were taking the COVID-19 vaccination were at the banquet hall. At the main foyer of the Jubilee House was where some, personnel from the Ghana Armed Forces are undergoing rehearsals ahead of the Cease March parade here on Saturday, which will be held for the first time at the foyer of the Jubilee House. And even as I speak to you right now, they are preparing the place ahead of Saturday's Independence Day celebration. So for here at the Jubilee House, it's been business as usual.
Well, Elton, very interesting one there. So at 5 p.m., that meeting is supposed to go on between the president and his legal team. The petitioner, John Dramani Mahama, will also be making an address. We'll bring you all of that. Elton, thank you very much. Elton Brobe is my colleague at the Presidency, our presidential correspondent. So I'll take you back to court. Frank Davis is one of the members of the legal team for the second respondent, President Akufo-Addo. He says that, well, essentially litigation must come to an end somehow. But one thing he says he wants is for Ghanaians to abide by the decision of the court. Take a listen.
The petitioner was not able to bring one single piece of evidence to show that the allegation that none of them, that is the petitioner and the second respondent, crossed the 50 plus of the total valid number of valid vote casts to warrant a rerun of the election. The Law Justices of the Supreme Court have spoken. We entreat all Ghanaians to abide by the decision of our highest court of the land. We thank our good friends on the other side for their bravery in mounting this petition, albeit we all found that the petition indeed contained nothing but factual errors and inaccuracies. Those were in the words of the court, not mine. Litigation must always come to an end. I want to believe that this is the end of the 2020 election petition. I'm fixated with 2013, so spare me.
Well, that's how it ended for the second respondents team. How did it end with the petitioners team? Watch.
At 5 p.m. at his office. I therefore entreat you all to carry your media to the flag bearer's office at 5 p.m. at Cantonments. That is all we have for you, and thank you very much.
That's how it ended. It ended for the petitioners team. But of course, they've indicated that at 5 p.m., the petitioner himself will be giving an address, and we'll be here to bring it to you live. Well, right after that, there were spontaneous jubilation by the NPP supporters across the country as they welcomed the verdicts of the Supreme Court on the 2020 election petition brought by John Mahama. At the party headquarters here in Accra, several of the supporters trooped in to join in the celebration. Some of them have been showing to my colleague Manuel Kranting just how excited they are.
I'm to respond to the allegation. So even though the John Mahama and the petition is not
first of all, it is clear that you cannot compel a witness into the box. In any case, the EC closed this case. That of the President's legal team and that of the NPP also closed their case. And in any case, the Electoral Commission was of the clear view that what the people voted for was what they declared. And once the NDC disagreed, they were entitled to legal options. Today, the matter has been settled. There's no ambiguity about that at all. And I am also happy that once again, we've been able to live up to the billing that we won the 2020 presidential and parliamentary election.
What are the lessons for election 2024 for the NPP as a party?
Well, we ourselves, we set up our own internal mechanisms to review strategies here and there. But one thing that I can assure the teeming supporters of the NPP today, that in 2024, the NPP will do times 10 what we did in 2020. And our victory will be so loud in 2024, both in parliamentary and presidential. And then the NDC will also have that opportunity to once again believe that they lost the 2020 and they will lose the 2024. But let me use your medium to also appeal to the millions of the NPP supporters out there that democracy has been the winner today. There's no need to engage in extreme provocation of your brother or sister on the other side. Bring him or her closer. Share your Coke that you have. Share your little drink that you have. Let the person believe that the beauty of this game is that you win today, you can lose tomorrow. You lose today, you can win tomorrow. All of us, let's work together, support Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP to deliver on this mandate. And then in 2024, we'll lace our boot for another epic contest, which I believe we will win once again.
And that's Samir Wuku there, who is a national organizer of the party, speaking to my colleague Manuel Kranting, who is still at the party headquarters and will be joining us soon. We'll also bring you reactions from across the regions. And then as we go along, we'll have a conversation here in the studio about the way forward. Let me begin with reactions from the Ashanti region of Kumasi.
The ruling is the best so far.
My expectation, it is unfair.
Whatever they say today, we take it in good faith.
So on
the streets of Kumasi, the verdict of the Supreme Court has been received with pockets of arguments on the streets. There are those who think that they were not expecting anything different. They knew that the petitioner's case held no water, and so they were expecting that the Supreme Court would give a verdict in favor of their president, Nana Akufo-Addo. And so they are happy about it.
The judges have done a very good job. They have delivered on their promise to judge the case within the stipulated time. Secondly, they, given a unanimous decision, tells that justice has been served, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, if it had been like what we saw in 2013, then you would have said, okay, they had some amount of a case, but unanimously they're saying that the case should be dismissed, which means that the petitioner could not prove in any way that there is a case. So I think the unanimous decision goes a long way to tell. And in fact, we've really made history as a country, and it's really going to go a hard way to deepen our democracy.
The ruling is the best so far. From the beginning, from the genesis of the case, we saw that Mama has lost, but he was forcing. But still, we all know that he has lost. So the judgment is the best.
I feel pity, because this is not the way that I expect it. I went there to vote peacefully and to choose a leader. But this is what we are observing now. And it is unfair for a country, Ghana, by this time, have to be fighting for just a simple issue like this. Yeah, it is, I'm not delightful about the process.
As compared to that of Nana Akufo-Addo, you see the vast difference. There's vast difference. The petitioner brought in a person, the person of the vice president, to come and sit in as the petitioner. This one, the petition itself did not come in. Brought in witnesses. How will this be? So personally, I think they just went there to sustain their support from the NDC party faithful.
They are the highest people in Ghana here that when we have a problem, when we go to them, they are the last hope for us. So whatever they say today, we take it in good faith.
On the other hand, there are people with a school of thought that they were expecting the Supreme Court to erase any doubt in the mind of Ghanaians by allowing the Electoral Commission boss to mount the dock and be cross-examined to remove any doubt from the minds of people.
In fact, it would have been very prudent to have forced the EC chair into the box just to clear the public doubt. However, based on the legal deliberations, the defendant felt that you, the petitioner, have not been able to substantiate your claim, and therefore there is nothing to defend.
EC chair is a witness to the Electoral Commission as a body. So you can depend on her witness to do your case. And then you are saying you win. They are saying that he who alleges must prove. You allege that none of the aspirants had 50+1. And therefore you should prove it. Personally, you should prove it through your evidences that you sent to court. If you fail to do this, you don't force the EC, who is someone's witness, the chair, EC chair, someone's witness, to come and do a case for you.
Sometimes they just decide not to do what people are expecting. That is very, very unfair. Yes, that aspect, I dislike it at all.
4 years is just around the corner. So whatever John Mahama lost or whatever you lose in 2020 election, so we should just have hope, and we pray to God that 4 years coming, whatever vote that we are going to do, I pray to God that we should have peace. Now, Ghana is peace now. Now you know what we have in Ghana right now. The COVID-19 is killing us. So, and adding this problem to our problem right now, it will give us headache. So I beg to John Mahama, please, not lose faith. So far as there's life, there is hope. And kudos to our president, Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa. I give her all the best, and 4 years, I pray to Almighty God that He should give us strength and hope to lead us for another 4 years.
Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
Well, you heard that woman talk there. It's good to end on a female note, because even in court, of course, the affirmative action conversation arose. But I want to take you to the Volta region. You've heard from the Ashanti region. What are people saying in the Volta region? Ivy Setsoji has been speaking to some of them.
Seriously, if you ask me, I think it's expected. I am not saying it's a desirable one if you ask me, but if you ask me if it's expected, I think a lot of people will say, yeah.
All right, my take on the verdict, it's not much different from the onset, the thoughts I have about the whole process. As they've mentioned, the petitioner didn't have a strong case from the beginning, so I wasn't expecting anything different from the verdict today, so that's what I can say.
Some reactions, apologies for that poor quality in that sound. I want to take you to the NPP headquarters right now. My colleague Manuel Kranting is standing by. Hello, Manuel. Manuel, a short while ago there was a press conference. Bring us highlights of the press conference. What message?
Gifty, I can hear you.
Yes, a short while ago there was a press conference. Give us highlights of this press conference and wrap it up for us with the other reactions so far.
Yes, indeed, Gifty, the press conference was addressed by the leadership of the New Patriotic Party here at the party headquarters. Key amongst the leadership, of course, the chairman of the party, the national chairman, Freddie Blay. We also have the general secretary, John Buedu, speak, and then the national organizer, Mr. Sami Ewuku. All of these people spoke, and they spoke to the end of one thing, that indeed the Supreme Court's verdict this morning has emphasized and reaffirmed the position that the NPP has been expressing all this while, and making the point that they had worked tirelessly for the victory that they had secured, as was so declared by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission on 9th December. Chairman Freddie Blay, for instance, made the point that they knew that all of the time that was spent in court was just to waste the time. And this was really emphasized by the General Secretary of the party, John Bwedu, who, if you would permit me to quote, said that this was a terrible waste of time of everybody in the country. And so for them, they've been welcoming the verdict of the Supreme Court and assuring the base of the party that they are going to mobilize and even deliver a bigger win come 2024. They make the point that the NDC's defeat at the hands of the NPP is going to get worse come 2024. We can listen to some of the things that they said.
Yeah, Manuel, we'll listen to them subsequently. Do tell us what has been happening after that particular press conference so far at the party headquarters. We know that President Akufo-Addo will be meeting his legal team. The petitioner, John Dramani Mahama, will also be making an address all at 5 o'clock, we're told. What is happening right now at the headquarters?
So just a short while ago, the leadership of the party stepped out of a meeting to consolidate and, as it were, assess the verdict of the Supreme Court as was delivered this morning. And that was right before they addressed the press conference. Essentially, there was a spontaneous jubilation that broke out even here at the party headquarters right after the Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah delivered the final verdict in the court today. So we've been speaking to a lot of the supporters here who were trooping in to join the leadership of the party to celebrate the victory that they have received today. Most of them have been telling us that they were confident that the party was going to secure the victory that it did secure in court. And just to emphasize, even though we know that the case in court was between the petitioner John Mahama, who was the flag bearer of the NDC, and the Electoral Commission, and of course the second respondent, who is not the party but the flag bearer, if you like, candidate of the New Patriotic Party. They say that they were confident that the verdict was going to go in their favor, and indeed it has gone in their favor. Gifty.
Manuel, thank you very much. And we'll certainly be linking up with you to find out what next is happening. We'll bring the highlights of the party leadership addressing that press conference subsequently. Manuel, thank you so much. Manuel Planting there, my colleague who joined us from the party headquarters. Let me take you to the Upper West region, the capital of Wa, where my colleague Rafiq Salam is standing by to give us some reactions. What are people saying on the streets of Wa? Rafiq.
Hello, Gifty.
Right, Rafiq. Do tell us what people are saying on the back of this verdict.
Gifty, unlike what transpired in 2013, where there was a lot of enthusiasm, where lots of people viewed their TV set to listen to the judgment, this one is completely different, where people are going about their normal duties until the verdict was delivered. And so it's also not different. And people seem not to be perturbed about what is really going on at the Supreme Court. I tried to speak to some few people, especially NDC supporters. They are saying that yes, they didn't expect anything different to come from the judges of the Supreme Court. And for them, they think that for some of them, they think that for them, they think that as God, the ultimate judgment is with God Himself, and though they are disappointed about the ruling that has been given. I also attempted to speak to some members of the NPP. They are also saying that for them, they think that they had a case, but I think that what they have achieved today the Supreme Court is a party victory for the party.
Well, Rafiq, very interesting thoughts there. I'm sure that subsequently we'll hear some of them speak to us. Is there anything else that our viewers ought to know at this point in terms of what's happening up north? Otherwise, we'll end it there.
What they really want, as for the judgment has been delivered by the Supreme Court, but what they want is that they want the rapid and speed development of the region. So they're saying that now that the judgment has been delivered, they think the government will go on with their activities, with their programs, with their policies. One has to deal with the issue of social amenities, the issues of road infrastructure for the people who they have been struggling over the years. A place like the Eastern Enclave, talking about Kumu area, they need roads, and so they want government to really come to their aid.
Rafiq, thank you very much. Rafiq Salam is our Upper West Regional correspondent, joining me all the way from WA with what the people are saying on the ground. Well, it's been a very packed day, hasn't it? You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty Andopia. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, we'll have a quick discussion on what has happened so far. We'll also tell you about Daniel Domelevo, who has been officially retired by President Akufo-Addo. Well, anti-corruption fighters are saying they will support him if he wants to take up the matter in court. After the break, Faisal Ibrahim Esquire is a member of the legal communication team for the second respondent. He'll be joining me, lawyer Bobby Bunsen, as well, with their concluding thoughts on what has happened so far. Just stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Well, now that we have a judgment from the court, there is a need for peace and cohesion, which is paramount, and political parties are major stakeholders in keeping that peace. In a communique issued at the end of the third consultative meeting by the Ministry of National Security, the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, the political parties involved in this, among others, committed to the need to preserve the peace in the aftermath of the judgment by urging their supporters to exercise restraint and desist from any provocative acts that could undermine law and order. So how do the parties ensure that their supporters actually work to preserve this peace we're talking about now that there is a court ruling? I'm being joined in the studio by Faisal Ibrahim. He is a lawyer and also a member of the legal communication team for the second respondent, President Akufo-Addo. We're expected to have a representative from the petitioners team, but we're not getting through to them at this point. So let me just start the conversation. Just so you know, Bobby Bunsen, who is also a lawyer, will be joining us in this discussion. Bobby, are you there? Okay, he'll be joining us shortly. Faisal, let me take you're welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you.
Let me take your initial reaction. I'm sure it's excitement, but perhaps you add the sort of talk that has been going on among your team after.
Well, I would say it's an exciting news, but it's also expected for anybody who was objectively observing what was going on in court. Even those who didn't have maybe some legal mind, you still couldn't have expected anything better than what the Supreme Court has delivered. And it's instructive to know that they spent close to 2 hours and they gave valid, grounded legal reasoning for the ruling or the judgment which they delivered. Every argument that have been raised by the petitioners were properly dealt with. The authorities were cited to show why each one of them didn't merit the reliefs that they were seeking. So we are excited by it, and we believe that the strategy that we used worked, and it had to work, because if you observe what was going on, I have said on many platforms that the star witness, Honorable Asedun Kitia, anybody who had spent some time to listen to the cross-examination conducted by lead counsel on our side, the very effective, dynamic senior Akoto Ampao. If you watch the cross-examination clearly with an objective mind, there's no way you could have said that the petitioners are then falling foul or falling flat with their case. Because
you're saying it makes you excited, Faisal, because it's went in your favor, obviously. But on the basis of the, when you say that if you were objectively observing what went on, especially with the star witness for the petitioner, then you wouldn't have expected any other conclusion. But then the court also held that there was the petition disclosed reasonable course of action. So it's not as if there was no merit completely from the start.
I think by what you just asked, you may be mixing two issues.
Okay.
The first issue for the court to determine was whether there was a course of action, and that is a preliminary legal objection that we raised. And the rules here 99 allows for respondents in the matter to file same, and we submitted our legal arguments. But the court said, well, in view of the fact that one, the petitioner is making an allegation that the EC didn't follow certain provisions of the Constitution, clearly it's a constitutional matter, and so you cannot say that because there is some weakness in the argument that he's making, and so we shouldn't go into it. Yeah. So they based it based on, they made their ruling on that particular issue based on the fact that it is an allegation of provisions, an allegation that some provisions of the Constitution hasn't been followed. That required for them to go into it. The fact that you've looked at it and you assess and think that what they are saying is weak shouldn't be enough. So that's the reason why they went into it. But as far as
which is why I said that, because of what you said, that if you were following objectively, you would know. It sounded to me as though you're supposing that, well, like many people have said, we shouldn't have been in court at all. The NPP's John Boydu, for example, says this was a waste of time. You
see, so that's why I needed to show the difference between the two. Help me out. The second part, which is the petition proper. Why are we in court? We are in court because, one, the former flag bearer of NDC for the 2020 election had said that nobody obtained more than 50% of the valid vote. That is why we are in court. And that is the allegation. That is the primary issue for the court to address. So if you say so, then it's an obligation on you as the person making that allegation to produce evidence to support that. That is the simple work you are supposed to do. Okay. If you fail to do that, and your own witness comes and he's given a Makola calculator where he churns out figures and he keeps declaring at every point in time that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the one who has obtained more than 50% of the valid vote, then clearly means that you shouldn't have even come to court in the first place. Okay.
I will, let me bring in lawyer Bobby Bunsen into this conversation, but I need to also once again say that we were expecting representation from the petitioners' camp. We had made prior arrangements, but as of now, there hasn't been a response to that. Lawyer Bobby Bonson is joining us. Bobby, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. Sorry I missed you earlier.
No, that's okay. I'm sure that you are following the argument that Faisal here is making. Essentially, we wanted to focus this conversation on building the national coalition towards development, going forward with what has happened, how we can work, to get the supporters on board. But we're just taking thoughts or initial comments on the process so far. His point, which has been underscored by a lot of his NPP colleagues, is that we shouldn't have been in court in the first place, and that is a total waste of time.
Good afternoon, Faisal. We've not spoken for some time.
That's right.
So I take it to mean that Faisal is representing the respondent, the second respondent.
He is.
Okay, that's good to know.
Is there something we should know that we don't know?
Okay, if I may, he was my TA, my lecturer at Ghana School of Law. Okay. So I'm sure he's proud to have.
You're proud to have your student there.
Yes,
all right.
I'm proud to have my student sitting there.
Very well. Okay, anyway, please go ahead.
Well, I do not completely subscribe to the notion that the petitioner shouldn't have gone to court in the first place. You would realize that after the results were declared, tensions were very high in the country. And I think that it was wisdom for the petitioners to have decided to go to court and then informed their supporters that, listen, we are in court, let's trust the process. And I believe that allowed a lot of the dust to settle. It was able to diffuse a lot of the tension so that we will follow the process. Unfortunately, or the truth is that the moment the petition was filed and the pink sheets, as they've come to know, the evidence were not attached by the petitioner to show exactly the figures that they were relying on, then you realize that they had a problem, because you see, you go to court the burden of proof is on you to prove beyond, on the balance of probability in a civil matter, that indeed your case is more likely than not. The Electoral Commission, which is the respondent in this case, they have declared the results using the pink sheet that they said was available to them. If your case is that the figures came out by the EC's reports or declaration is different from the figures that happened on the ground that were on the pink sheets, then the burden will be on you to provide evidence contrary to what the EC had declared. And these pink sheets were available to the NDC from the beginning because they had representatives at every single polling station. They signed the pink sheets. And from 2012, that was one lesson that we all learned, that elections are won or lost at the polling station. And so if you are not able to provide the evidence or you sign onto the pink sheets, then unless you are able to prove any form of illegality or fraud, then you are stopped from alleging something that is different from what is in the pink sheet. And that was the big lesson from the 2012 election petition. And so once they filed their petition without attaching those pink sheets that would show figures that were different from what the Electoral Commission had declared, then every objective person knew that they had a difficult challenge to surmount. And that is why you would see Mr. Chachu Tikata, the very seasoned senior lawyer, trying all sorts of means to make sure that they would have the EC or they would have the pink sheets brought as part of the evidence. So you realize that he filed an application for discovery, which he lost. He filed an application for interrogatories, which he lost. He filed a request to admit facts, which were not presented, which was not responded to. All these were attempts. And his last attempt to have the Electoral Commission chairperson subpoenaed so he could cross-examine or examine, as it were. And these were all attempts to adduce evidence later on after the matter had begun. And you see, because of the rules that govern the election petitions, you could not amend your petition once you file to change the basis of your case or to introduce evidence which was not hitherto accommodated by your pleadings, contrary to normal civil action. Yeah. And so the petitioner then had a very difficult task. Once they filed the petition and laid the foundation, they did not attach those evidence. It was very difficult for them.
So, Bobby, let me just jump in here. We took some reactions from across the country, and we were hearing from ordinary Ghanaians what their thoughts are. Some of them indicated that, well, they're happy we're here, but then they thought it would have been good for the entire country to have someone like the first respondents chairperson in the box to explain to Ghanaians what actually happened, to set everybody else's minds at ease. I mean, this is a legal matter, but in the court of public opinion, wouldn't that have been a better option, as we've heard some of the people say?
You know, the law courts are governed by rules. They are governed by statute. They are governed by case law. Justice is not administered in a vacuum. Justice is administered within the ambit of the law, so that there will not be uncertainty with what is justice and what is not. So if you decide to ventilate your grievance using a particular procedure laid down by law, then you must abide by all the terms of that procedure. And that required that if you go to court to allege any fact, the burden is on you to prove. Now, we should remember that the EC was not on trial for administrative errors. And I think that we must make that very clear. The EC was not on trial for administrative errors, because you cannot go to the Supreme Court and then say that there were administrative errors by the Electoral Commission, so the EC should declare as such. Sorry, the court should declare as such. No, you went to court because your position was that presidential elections have been conducted. The results that were declared are not the results that you had, or are not the results that should have been declared.
Okay. And
so you have to come and tell us what the results that you had, or what, in your opinion, were the results that should have been declared are, before you expect the EC to come. Because remember, in terms of how the EC conducts their operations, there is a body that does that, and that is the inter-party, what's the name? They meet with the Electoral Commission once in a while, made up of representatives of the IPAC, yes, the IPAC. That is where you resolve administrative grievances, not in the courtroom, more so in the Supreme Court. So I understand the common sense approach, let me put it that way. And people thinking that, oh, it would have been fidelity to common sense if the EC commissioner was put in the box. Was put in the box to do what? to say that, okay, this is how we conducted the elections, pink sheets are signed, they are transferred. All those things were put in an EI, which were passed by Parliament upon, submission by the Electoral Commission before we went to the polls.
All right.
So those who have that inclination that there was an administrative malpractice, the Supreme Court was not the forum to ventilate that grievance.
Okay, I'm just going to, I understand you have to go and teach, so I'll just I'll just end it with you here. But I just need to indicate that lawyer Kojoga Dawudu is joining us for the NDC or the petitioners team. But Bobby Bunsen, thank you so much for your time. Bobby Bunsen is a lawyer who joined us with his thoughts. I still have Faisal Ibrahim here in the studio, but let me welcome Mr. Kojoga Dawudu. Hello, Mr. Dawudu, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time. Your team today was extremely brief, about 20 seconds. What's going on?
I think that what we have been saying will be said by the former president this evening, and we didn't want to be a professor or say what he's supposed to be saying, to take the shine out of what he would say. So that is what we are all waiting for, that at 5 o'clock we will hear the former president speak on the issue. In all, we are not too much surprised as the way things turn around. However, I think one of the consolation or things that we take is that when people were saying that we have no case, there's no cause of action, I think it was made clearly that you can challenge the validity of the election. And if there is validity of the election, it is the constitutional instrument that has been made. That is what you would see as prima facie as the election. And that's what we were saying, that it was not done properly. For us, I think everybody is clear that, yes, we had a case, we took the case. It is the view of the Supreme Court that we did not demonstrate or did not have enough evidence. That's why they are dismissing the application. Now, the no side for me, and maybe for the team, is that we didn't, Ghanaians have lost, and I think have lost some reforms that would have been made if all the parties were able to say, or the electoral commissioner, the chairperson, would have told Ghanaians the process by which she was able to go through to come out with the CI 135. It will, even if they are saying that we are talking about the administrative things that they are talking about, that it shouldn't be the fora, I don't think that that is the essence. We did not say that it is administrative error. We are saying that there was error. There was no collation. So
and the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court is saying that you have not been able to prove the point.
Yes, but if the Supreme Court says that we are not able to prove, right, what I'm saying is that, so that means that we are not going to have any reforms within our electoral commission until that will happen.
What kind of reforms? What kind of reforms were you expecting that this petition, for example, would have brought about?
Let me give you a typical one. Is there any time for collation after election when the polls closes at 5 and the results start trickling in? Is there any time frame for collation? There's no time frame. And one thing that I have picked from this election means that when I go to the collation center or polling station where the results are being declared, I won't take any instruction from any person, administrative person or official who is erring. And that will mean that if he will not also listen and do the right thing, we'll have to settle it down there.
Okay.
we will settle it there. We won't even go anywhere again, because it is my duty to make sure that I am there and I'll have to perform my duty. So any errand or errand administrative officer, returning officer, like has happened in Tetima, nobody is going to take it and say that we are going to respect the rules of the law and say that we will take it for administrative to be resolved or to take it to the court. That is one of the things that we should have spoken about it and have reforms as to when it will happen.
Let me just bring, hold on for me, let me just bring in Faisal Ibrahim, who is a member of the legal communication team for the second respondent. Faisal, so the point he's making is that we have just missed out on a real clear opportunity to work out some election or some electoral reforms.
You see, it is one of the arguments that they keep bringing up. And I keep saying that if the petitioner had discharged the burden on them, they did not need to compel even the EC chair to mount the box. That point must be made fundamentally clear. I'm saying, and I'm repeating, if the petitioner had been able to adduce evidence to support their petition or their allegation or the pleadings they filed in court, they didn't need the EC chair to compel the EC chair. The EC chair herself would have mounted the box to explain herself.
But how does that address the issue of electoral reform?
I'm saying, no, it's a step. Because from what he's saying, if she had mounted, she would have said certain things. Then the judge would have gone in and come to give certain advice. Then there will be reforms. But the point is, seeking reforms is not why you go to the Supreme Court under Article 64(1). If you want to go to the Supreme Court under Article 64(1), there's no way that it says that if you need reforms in your electoral system, go to Supreme Court.
But there's precedent to the effect that we
that's exactly the point I'm saying earlier. So what we did was because we went in there with over 11,000 pink sheets and we challenged the validity of the election. They went to challenge the validity of a declaration. There are two different things, and the court made it clear today in the judgment that what they are seeking is not what we came to do in court. And so when we finished ours, then the court had to then go in because there were errors, clear errors that was made patently clear in court. So then the court started giving advice. Okay, do this, make sure you paste the pink sheet at the place, make sure everybody has a copy. Because
you agree that we have lost out on an opportunity to it sounds to me that you agree that we have lost out on an opportunity to make or implement electoral reforms, but you do not you think that that's the fault of the petitioners because they didn't go in a way that would have allowed that to happen.
I'm saying two things. One is that if they had discharged the burden, then the EC chair would have mounted the box and explained certain things. And if there were any reforms that was needed at all, then maybe the ruling would have, or the judgment would have captured the same. But I'm saying to the extent that you didn't discharge your burden, don't go blaming others for the failure on your part. That is one. Then you also asked, he also made the point that I wanted to know the process that she went through in declaring the results. I'm surprised.
She used that as an example.
No, I'm surprised. Because you see, we're all going into the game with a set of law. That's the CI 127. CI 127 spells out at every stage what needs to be done at the polling station, at the constituency coalition center, at the regional level, then at the national. And this is codified. It went to parliament. We all know. So if you say now you want to know how she did her work, just read the law. And she had also told you in her response, her answer to your petition, that she followed this law. So what you needed to do was to bring evidence to show that, oh, this particular law wasn't followed. And you failed to do that.
Okay. Lawyer Dawodu, let's wrap this conversation up. I don't know if you want to say something on the back of what he has just said, but one of the key things we wanted to address in this conversation is the way forward. What next? And how do we consolidate the peace we have in this country, national cohesion, etc.?
The second and third witnesses said was fanciful. But what they are trying to say is that at the collation center, was there a proper collation? This is what happened. The law says there should be collation. It wouldn't have happened in Tetima if there was a proper collation. It wouldn't have happened in Sefibi also. It wouldn't have happened in Tapua. It wouldn't have happened in Zabzuku, where there would have been a proper collation. And that's what they are saying that. So I asked the collation. So everybody knows the law. The law is 127. Whether it was applied properly or it was not a flight property. That's what we are talking about. But I am saying that even if the Supreme Court itself would say that you went there and you did not do the work or serve the interest of your principals, it means that the next time people would be alert and will be out of reason when somebody is erring. And that is what we have lost.
Okay.
Two, it is the law, they have spoken. Yes, we agree with some, we disagree with some of it. And at the end of the day, I think that it is just that it has been reaffirmed that when you want to win the election, go there. Now that we are also having issues where at the polling station and collation center, we are having the security and others coming in. And once they come in, there is chaos. I'm sure that people will be prepared that when they are going the next time, they would also be armed and make sure that nobody comes in to snatch or...
Well, that is not to suggest that you are promoting lawlessness during elections.
No, it's not lawlessness.
So while you answer that question, Mr. Daudu, kindly address this issue for me. What next? How is the party, your team, your lawyers, etc., going to harness the support of your supporters who were initially agitated because they believed, based on what they had heard, that they had actually won the election and it hadn't been given to them? Then the way forward, the next steps.
There is one thing the court will look at as evidence and say, and there's one thing on the ground. Maybe the court says we have not demonstrated, so we did not take enough evidence. That's not take away that, yes, in their belief and what happened on the ground, and they have seen, would means that, yes, what the court has said is conclusive, yes. But in their opinion, it doesn't mean that they have lost the election. They know what happened on the ground, and we will speak to that. And I'm sure when the former president speaks, you address some of the issues. Okay.
I'll come back and take your final thoughts on this. But first off, national cohesion. We have seen, I spoke to my colleague Elton Burber, who was at the presidency. He said there was no celebration, nothing like, just, people talking to each other and showing a bit of excitement, and it was business as usual. We heard Samir Uku say, well, whatever you're doing, do it, modestly, etc. But then, is there a clear plan to make sure that people don't rub things in other people's faces towards national cohesion?
Well, one thing about going to court in an adversarial system is that there is no draw. There's always a winner and a loser. But it's the conduct that you exhibit, either as a loser or a winner, that shows whether you want peace. I will also use the platform to urge our side, especially in this victorious time. We are supposed to jubilate. I mean, the coronavirus cannot stop us. And if coronavirus cannot stop us, then clearly it means that we are within our right to jubilate. But we should not jubilate in a manner that will incite some anger or in a provocative manner. But it's important that I stress that the fact that you've gone to court doesn't mean that the matter which you took to court is true. Sometimes people go to court for various reasons. And I heard one of the persons who were interviewed in Ashanti Region saying that he believes that maybe the petitioner went to court maybe to sustain his political career for a period or to excite the base. Well, that's a position
that you of the NPP have been making for
it shows that because the interview you did, the person you interviewed, you cannot say it's a political person. This is an ordinary man who is airing his...
It's possible that they're also political.
Well, to the extent that you didn't introduce a person as a political person, I cannot sit here and say that he is. But this is what the reasonable mind is saying on the street. Is telling you that he believes this petition was filed because he wants to sustain a certain excitement and love, and possibly what's going to take place at 5 o'clock. From what he said, that the former flag bearer for their 2020 elections is going to address the nation, or is going to address us or his supporters at 5 o'clock.
What you're talking about, what you expect to hear from him?
Well, I'm saying that it is likely to fall in line with the suggestion that came from the Ghanaian who you interviewed earlier, that this is really a political gimmick, possibly to sustain the career of maybe the petitioner.
So what are you expecting to hear from the former president?
Well, like I said, I mean, we have politicians. For instance, one, that he disagrees, two, that he accepts, that three, he will need some time to reflect, Therefore, when he decides what he wants to do with his political future, he will find the time.
That's what you're expecting to hear from him.
To tell Ghanaians.
I see.
Yes,
and what are your other members, your legal team members going to? What kind of conversation are they going to have with the president? We're told that will happen at the same time that the former president is speaking.
Yes. In fact, I left a meeting that was taking place earlier, and those discussions came up. But clearly, this is going to be between the lawyers and then the client. So they're going to meet with him and share the good news, and then we'll see.
I see. Lawyer Dawodu, let me take your final thoughts as well, your final comments, if you'd like us to know what to expect when the former president also makes his address, that'll be fine.
Oh, no, I would only say that, yes, the court has declared and has thrown the petition away and said the second respondent, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, was validly elected. I think that he has an honor stack on him to make sure that there will be cohesion in this country. We can come together, because you can have a beautiful judgment, you can have judgment in your favor, but it might not bring reconciliation. You go to court, you have judgment, doesn't mean that there's reconciliation. So I'm sure that there should be a way that he should engage. He should consult and engage the people that really, that if he wants to leave an impactful legacy, and whilst he has finished his term, he should say that this is what I've been able to do and bring the people, but not that the people will be more divided on political and other social lines. I think for me, that is what, as Ghanaians, we need to be looking at, because you can see that we are getting more polarized. We need to make sure that that social cohesion will be there.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Lawyer Kojoga Adawudu there is a member of the NDC legal team who joined us via phone. You want to make a comment?
Just a very last one.
Okay.
That in elections, when you're sending agents, ensure you're not sending agents who have a thirst for tea. It's likely to affect. It's one of the issues that came up.
Well, I'm sure
today. And then the last one, that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was validly elected at the 7th December 2020 elections. He's the president. He's going to serve us for the period. So far, he's fighting the COVID so well, and we are supporting him. And I'll use the opportunity to urge Ghanaians to also support him to deliver for the second term. Thank you.
Faisal, thank you very much. Lawyer Kojoga Adawudu joined us on phone. He's a member of the NDC legal team. I also had here Faisal Ibrahim, who is also a lawyer and a member of the legal communication team for the second respondent, President Akufo-Addo. Thank you very much for coming once again. Now, let's bridge this, right? We'll be telling you about Mr. Domelevo's issue, but I want to just bridge this conversation with this very interesting one. There's one indigenous Ghanaian food with multiple popular names. Many people make faces and claim to dislike this delicacy. Well, oftentimes, the food is heavily patronized and usually the first to get finished at local eateries. The question remains, if many people dislike this food, who are those consuming the food? In our Ghana Month series, Insure FM's Obideshie Ofori Amanfo celebrates this indigenous Ghanaian food.
Today at Obaya's Choba at Krofo in Kumasi, we want to celebrate a particular Ghanaian indigenous food with many names.
Face the wall. Chris Brown. Tapioca. Brown.
To fully understand the process of konkonte making, I took a trip to cassava farming community in the Eastern Region, Kwaupanka. Farmer Abinabima explains the process begins with the harvest of cassava.
You can use it for konkonte. This one can serve about 2 people.
The cassava is then peeled and cut into smaller sizes before being washed and dried.
It takes 1 week for the cassava to dry up.
The dried cassava is then milled before cooking.
After milling, the powder is mixed with hot water on fire, stirred, until it is cooked.
Auntie Efiasewa has been selling konkonte for the past 20 years. Her youngster's choba at Asafo in Kumasi is a big joint for konkonte. Auntie Efia says the business is very lucrative.
People patronize abetie a lot, and it gets finished before other foods. They prefer abetie to banku and mutu and get worried when they do not get it.
CEO of Obaya Choba wonders why people claim not to like konkonte, but the meal gets consumed earlier than any of the food on the menu.
It has health benefits since it is of less starch because of its drying process. People buy fufu in addition to konkonte and prefer to eat them together. Ghanaians like konkonte.
It has many names. Face the wall.
Self-acclaimed konkonte ambassador Erastus Asari Donko digs into the meaning of some of the names of konkonte and why he likes the delicacy.
It's a type of food that people don't want to associate themselves with. They think that is a poor man's food and all that. I beg to differ. And so previously when people are eating abetie, you will see that they will get to the corner of the chop bar and they will face the wall so that nobody will see what they are eating. So it ends its name, face the wall. But you see the original names that I came to meet, abetie, kokonte, laprewa, that's the name of the food. But as time went on, modernization and this all that, they saw the food, it looks brown in color. And so some likened it to the name of the American singer, Chris Brown. So he got his name Chris Brown from that one as well. And I bet you, if Chris Brown were to eat kokonte, he would love it. Perhaps that's the reason why it's called Chris Brown. But you see, the other side where people of today, when you mention abetie, laprewa, kokonte, they will go like, as if they don't like it. But when you go to the chop bar, that's the food that just finished, first.
A lot of people claim they do not like abetie, but when you go to chop bar, that is the only food that gets finished as early as possible. I'm a video show for around for
Sapa Jimmy, the best dope.
Erastus Asari Donko there trying his hands on the face the wall abetie, whichever way you want it. In our Ghana Man series, we'll bring you more of that. But let's come back to the capital and look at one of these critical issues. Daniel Domilevo, the Auditor General, has been officially retired. While co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu, has been reacting to President Akufo-Addo's decision to officially retire the former Auditor General Daniel Domilevo. Speaking on Prime Morning today, Mr. Senanu could not hold back his tears when concluding his position on the matter. For him, individuals like Mr. Domilevo must be praised and not chased out of office like the president has just done, as he puts it. You hear from Senanu shortly, but we've been talking to some Ghanaians as well on what they make of what is happening at the with the Auditor General. Listen.
No, I don't think they have an issue, because if they have an issue, since he was in office, why is it that they didn't raise those concerns since he was appointed? Now before this, he's come to continue his duty before they are raising this issue, because I don't think they have a fair, they have a case. So they should rather withdraw, then he continues and end his term in office, so that everything will go on successful.
Right, technically speaking, if he's not due for retirement, yes, I do agree with that. They gave about 3 dates of birth. I saw one which was 1970, that was 78 or 76. Yes. And then I saw the 1996 one, which if the date of birth on his records is 1996, and he's still supposed to be there. So June.
Well, some reactions there. Well, let's hear from Senano, who spoke to my colleague Daniel Dazi today on Joy Prime.
Well, I would like to send a message to Mr. Daniel Domlevo on a day like this, that on behalf of my sector and the teeming masses of Ghanaians who like to see the right thing done, men and women of faith and conscience, who matters of integrity, hard work, respect are greatly crucial for. We want to salute him. Perhaps we will have a Daniel Domlevo Day sooner than later. We may.
Adam Senano there speaking to Daniel Dazi. Well, a civil society organization, One Ghana Movement, is saying that they are willing to support Mr. Daniel Domlevo if he wants to take up the matter in court. We're able to have a conversation with them. We're not getting through to them, but we'll bring that to you subsequently. Right now, I want to take you to Parliament, where the Appointment Committee is expected to present its second report for that debate on whether or not there will be approval for 8 other ministerial appointees. My colleague, Kwesi Parker Wilson, followed what happened in Parliament last night. He's joining us to give us highlight and also to tell us what is happening right now. Hello, Parker.
Hello, Gifty.
Parker, let's begin with what's happening right now.
All right, so Gifty, Parliament is here to sit this afternoon for their deliberation, and we do understand that today the House is going to debate the second report of the Appointment Committee recommending the approval of 15 other nominees. So you're talking about Alan Chemantin, Freda Prempe, Yusuf, the Minister for Youth and Sport, among others. And so when they start the business of the day, that is what they are going to look at. But Gifty, before we go into yesterday's event, the Supreme Court this morning ruled against the petitioner, John Dramani Mahama, the NDC Flagborough, in the 2020 election petition. And I have with me a member of Parliament who has been sharing some concerns with me this afternoon. Honourable Member of Parliament for Lower Menya Akobo, that is Telabi, is here. Honourable, first of all, let me just ask you, you have listened to the judgment the Supreme Court ruled against your flag bearer. Would you say the ruling or the verdict is well sounded?
Well, yeah, thank you very much. I listened, rightly so, because I have an interest in what was going on. My party, my flag bearer is in court, and I believe in the cause, and therefore I had been following the case throughout. What did you say? You wanted to find out how I felt?
Yes, how do you feel about the ruling now, the judgment, sir?
Well, I'm yet to look at the details, though I'm not a lawyer. But from the little I heard from them, the judges have spoken. I am not happy about it, though.
You're not happy?
I'm not the least, because I expected a little more, thorough, work in terms of examining all the witnesses.
But the judgment, the judges were clear. You didn't exhibit or demonstrate enough evidence to show that indeed there should be a run-up.
To quote them, they always, I said, one thing that ran through this case throughout the proceedings was the issue about opinions. And if it is anything to go by, then in my opinion, I believe that they have not done justice as far as this case is concerned.
Now, as a member of Parliament, I don't know if you've gotten any reaction from the constituents, how they're feeling.
Well, they're back in law. Certainly they are down, but some of them I spoke to said they were not surprised, because when they looked at it, how it started, we have a situation where most of our applications, moves, whatever that we did were all thrown out. And therefore, some of them had prepared themselves psychologically, expecting what happened today. However, as I said, I believe that would have done something, a little more, justice to what went on. I was a little bit disappointed in the sense that when you look at the fact that the court itself admitted that they were padding.
But that didn't affect the outcome of
hold it.
It was clear in the
judgment. You see, in the witness, in the attachment to the witness statement, the witness, the witness number one that actually indicated that the evidence that, what we gave were just samples. And if the court has granted us, our leave to have, what do you call the chairperson? Not the chairperson aside, but access to documents that were holding, we could have brought, more.
That said, finally, what are the lessons you've learned as a member of parliament, as NDC member, going forward in 2024?
Good and bad. The fact is that me, as a member of parliament, as a politician, I would avoid going to court when it comes to, what do you call it, some of these issues.
And you think your fellow shouldn't have gone to court?
No, not necessarily so, but it's the fallout from what happened. Okay. The advice, what I said to myself is that we have to settle everything at the police stations and at the constituencies by being vigilant and making sure that whatever corrections that needed to be made should be made at the police stations. And that may not be too good, you understand. It depends on who will be at the forefront of whatever action that is going to be taken. You understand? So if what happened, if indeed you have a whole umpire or a referee who is not allowed, somebody who presided over a game or an activity, and the two contestants shooting parties, to the extent that the referee was not allowed to come and tell us what actually transpired during the process, it means that we have to take our destinies in our own hands.
Okay, and that's what we're going to do for 2024.
Yes, we have to.
All right, sure. Thank you very much. So, Gifty, let me just show you the leadership of the appointment committee are just walking into the chamber. And what it tells you is that Parliament will soon commence the business of the day. And as you were mentioning, yesterday, 13 nominees were approved by the House. In fact, there was a bit of drama right before they got approved. Now, what happened was that yesterday, Parliament went for a break for about 2 hours. And when they returned, the motion was moved to debate the nominees, specifically the three who the NDC had issues with. Now, the minority leader and the NDC wanted the speaker to defer the debate today because most of their members at the time had not been given copies of the report recommending the approval of these 13 nominees. It went on and on, back and forth, where Mr. Bonson, the majority leader, insisted that majority of members of the House have been given copies of the report. And as a matter of fact, they need to debate it. But the minority side were arguing that 144-page report cannot be examined within 10 and 15 minutes. And so they need time to do that. After a debate for about 30 minutes, the speaker then went into a conclave with the leadership of the House. And when they returned about 15 minutes, the agreement was that they should move ahead and debate. They put it to a vote, and then the yes had carried the day. And so they went on ahead with the debate. Now, after that, the speaker put the three nominees, that is Kojo Ponkroma, Hawa Kumsin, and Efria Koto, the minister designated for agriculture. And if you look at the statistics, all of them secured more than 50+1%. That's according to the standing orders of Parliament. And so what it means is that they were approved. Shortly after that, the other 10 nominees who were captured in the first report of the appointment committee were also put to voice votes. So the voice votes, you had the majority scream, yes, they approve, but the minority abstained from the voice votes. And the speaker again ruled that the other 10 nominees had been approved. So in all, 13 nominees, the first batch of the report from the appointment committee, were approved early this morning. In fact, that happened around 3 a.m. This morning. And so they adjourned sitting, and they are resuming sitting this afternoon. And we are told that 15 other nominees will be approved. The report was laid yesterday. And so today, the third report will be laid, which they will debate on it tomorrow. But today, they're going to debate on the 15 other nominees to approve or probably reject their nomination. So that is what we need to expect today from members of parliament.
Paka, that's a very comprehensive one. Thank you so much. Even showing us the people of the appointments committee who have arrived and were taking their seat. Paka, thank you. So 15 more nominees, ministerial nominees, to be approved or otherwise today as they go to sit. 13 so far approved. Kwesi Paka Wilson Salman on the ground in Parliament. Some districts in the Ashanti region are recording oversubscription of the COVID-19 vaccines. Health officials say many people who do not fall within the categories targeted for the first phase are flooding vaccination centers to get a jab. 150,000 AstraZeneca vaccines were received by the region for vaccination in Greater Kumasi and parts of Obuasi. Nanaya Ojima visited some of the centers. Here is his report.
Persons above 60 years, others with underlying conditions, and staff of health centers take turns to get vaccinated as the exercise entered day 3. 112 teams are stationed in different health facilities and other institutions to undertake the vaccination. The Efija Kwabre South District has already recorded oversubscription of the AstraZeneca vaccines. At least 200 persons have tested positive for COVID-19, with some still receiving treatment. At the district, 25 centers are selected for the administration of 5,500 doses, which are far below the population. District Chief Executive Christian Edupoku says the assembly, after the launch of the vaccination exercise, have received several requests from communities.
We set the pace to let the public know that there is nothing untoward about taking the vaccination. And I think it has sunk well into the community. And now people have been calling, asking where can they get access to the vaccination centers. And like you rightly said, because we did it here at the health center, the health directorate is here. We thought it wise to locate one of the centers here. Then all the health centers within Efija Kwabre South have also been given the opportunity to exercise the vaccination. Then even private health facilities have also been given the opportunity to also execute the
Nanaya Jima's report. And that's it for this hour. There's more news at myjoyonline.com. And of course, this video is on demand on our YouTube channel. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. At 5 p.m., by the way, when the former President John Dramani Mahama is ready with his address, we'll be here to bring that to you. Many thanks for your time. Let's talk showbiz. That's how we wrap it up.
Soni nano Eye ankasa dona me domo Na eba no say no domo kwai Na minye deni Ejubani na me no mwana Anasa minko shami wakufo So bido wa umwana Janye oki kanu na mintio Arachi tray me do nimse Free ni pemu Ababa way enyi mimo Enyi nano ya de konswon Abwana seyo Sophie Sa insio no shie kudia Enye shikra read your train, me don't need say, a free only pa home. A baba way, and you mean more. And I know you did console, Sabuana say you, Sophie. Is your no share good dear, and yes, she cried.
And that makes it for, I mean, one of my favorite songs from Akabwa. I always enjoy it every time I listen to it. Be it him, be it anybody who performs this particular song. I really love it so much. And well, it's really exciting to have a young man who is into music to perform this particular song before our conversation. In fact, today I'm shining the spotlight on Atake Jr. And well, he's here. He just performed that beautiful track from Akabwa. Hello.
Hello, Dory.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing too?
I'm very well, thank you. You know, sometimes when I talk to you, I'm tempted to ask. Yes, the name really sounds it, but your voice and your accent, why is it like that?
Oh, growing up, I wanted to be a news broadcaster. Oh. So I listened to a lot of BBC, news.
So, okay.
But then over the time,
you gave up?
Yeah, I didn't give up. I found something I think I loved more.
Oh, which is the music?
Yeah.
Oh,
music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you find out that you actually wanted to do music?
I think since childhood. I've been singing all through, since childhood through to primary, to senior high, to tertiary. And
I know you've been doing music all your life, but how have you been doing it officially for the industry?
Officially, I'd say in 2019, when I came out with my debut single, Laugh from the Tree.
Okay.
And this very end, February, when I came out with my second single, To Be With You.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has it been for you in the industry? This industry is not easy.
It's no joke.
I mean, tell me about your experience, your challenges. Tell me about it. I'm sure you've probably linked up with somebody, it didn't work. You've gone to. I mean, I want to hear those stories.
I'll mainly start off with the kind of music I do. I'm more into the R&B soul thing. So even if it's a Ghanaian song like the Arechicha I did, I like to add the R&B and the soul to bring out the feeling of the song. But then I've noticed in Ghana that doesn't really trend. They like the songs you can dance to and jump to. But then I know eventually
they will accept it.
Yeah, they will.
So it's been quite tough for you then.
It has.
But the one you released in 2019, you got some good response from that.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
The feedback was positive. Yeah.
Okay.
Even though it still hasn't been easy, but that doesn't mean I should give up.
But have you also tried to link up with people in the industry who you feel can be of help?
I'm yet to.
You're yet to.
I'm yet to. During those times, up till now, I've been working on myself. I need to be presentable. They need to see some substance in me before they can also agree to.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to many of those collaborations.
Who would you say is your favorite artist in the industry? Somebody you look up to, somebody you're learning from, and somebody you would love to, rub shoulders with sometime to come?
Of course, it's great to be Akabwa.
Oh my God!
I love Akabwa's music, and I think he is very talented. And I'd one day like to work with him.
Have you ever met him before? You've never spoken to him?
I've never spoken to him before.
What have you been doing on social media then? I mean,
I've never spoken to him. But then I'm going to start taking initiatives vigorously. Yeah.
So you obviously have intentions of working with him, so you do that.
I really look forward to.
Okay. You talked about R&B, but some of our artists, especially the rappers, they always like to also inculcate singers in their music. I mean, which rappers would you like to work with?
This is a very, 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 very long shot, but then Sarkodie.
Yeah, this boy, you're more, it's like you want the best.
Because I'm working to be the best, and it would be very, very nice if I could work with the best. Yeah, obviously they are the best. Looking where they've started from, how they've grown over time. Yeah, I would like to.
But before you started doing full-time music in this industry, I'm sure you sat back, you also looked
around in the industry, you saw things that were going on in the music industry. What were some of your observations? What were some of the things that you think that, oh, maybe if I go this way or that way, I think it will make things better for us?
Like I mentioned earlier on, Ghanaians they prefer the songs you can, dance to. I can do them, like you mentioned, I can do them, but that's not what I want to do. So that's when I studied and I realized a couple of things. I was like, okay, so if I could go this way, I think I'd move faster. But then let me stay to what I believe and work towards it. Gradually, it's going to pick up.
But your industry is kind of, our music industry is kind of, in or out. Are you in for money? Or you're in for like, oh, let me just do the music?
Oh no, I'm in for money, and I'm passionate about it. So passionate and money.
Passionate and
yeah. I'm passionate about what I'm doing, which is very good, and that should lead to the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe you should try a bit of the dance, and then you can continue to do.
That's what I'm saying. I can do that. So maybe like you're suggesting, along the way, I'll do a little bit of that, and then still keep it in my element.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, any plans on working on an EP? I know COVID has done its bit, but of course, once you were home, I'm sure you were also doing one or two things.
I have a couple of songs, and then hopefully in the near future, very near future, I'll be coming up with something new and refreshing.
Okay. You said you released a track in November. Actually, this February. Yes. I'd like to hear a bit about the song.
Okay. So I wrote the title of the song is To Be With You.
Okay.
I wrote it with the thought of anyone wanting to spend the rest of their lives with the ones they so much love. And it came out beautifully, and it's a beautiful song.
Oh, I'd like to hear it.
To be with you at all times, to be with you even if it was a crime, to be with you till we both old and gone, to be with you till eternity, I promise you and God. Makuma yawode Ebrami tiasi Mene wo betuna Seninya mi ashishe sebeye. To be with you and call you mine, to be with you when all I have is a dime, to be with you till we done singing the song, to be with you till eternity, I promise you and God.
Oh my goodness! Wow, do you have a video for this?
I promise to be with you at all times. I promise to be with you even if it was a crime. I promise to be with you till we both old and gone, to be with you till eternity, I promise you and God.
Wow, wow, wow. What inspired the song?
I knew it would get there.
Yes, what inspired it?
So I first had the tune for the song, and I envisioned it to be something which would go very deep and something everyone could relate to. So I thought about the concept of love. And then I'm a songwriter as well.
Okay.
And then the lyrics just came to me.
Wow.
And I put it into the melody and it turned out so beautiful. This is one of the songs I actually love playing myself.
Wow, wow. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
so it goes out to anyone out there who you found the perfect one and you want to spend the rest of your life with the person. This song explains everything, in the bad, in the good times, the times when you're very down, and times when you're up in your highs, everything. Yeah.
What are you hoping in future to impact in the industry?
Positivity. That's the ultimate goal, to just impact positivity. Yeah.
So if I'm looking for you, how do I get through to you?
I'm on Instagram at Atake Jr. I'm on Facebook at Atake Jr. I'm on Twitter at Atake Jr. And then you asked for the music video for this new single. It's up on my YouTube page, YouTube channel, sorry, Atake Jr. So you can find it there too.
Wow. Atake, thank you so much. But is there anything you would want to say before we wrap up?
This is what I'm going to say. Right now, it's a little bit difficult, but then I know eventually it's going to pick up. Watch out for Atake Jr.
Yep. So just watch out for Atake Jr. This is what we do. We always go out there looking for great talents to also give them the opportunity to speak out and also learn more about the industry. As he said, just watch out for him, because I believe that this young man has a good talent and he has somethsomething for the industry.
We crossed over troubled waters. God was by our side. It's you and I, baby. Onyami never tram, but if I can, I'm never trans and you're a baby. You didn't need you, baby, boy, I'm very, you move your and you over doing the home. We'll let nothing come between us. We'll spend our lives to prove that after all these times and all these years, you and I, mountains and valleys won't come between us. Time and space can never defeat us. It's you and I against the world, so hold me tight. Maakumemu samwa, maakumemu samwa, maakumemu samwa, na mirikeyo. These are the matters of the heart now. It's the matters of the heart now. It's the matters of the heart now. America, baby, we'll grow old. We'll grow old. We'll grow old together. We'll grow old. We'll grow old together.